My name is Haneia, and I'm 21 years old. I never thought I would share this part of my life with anyone, but sometimes silence becomes heavier than pain itself. This is the story of how I learned that not every family member deserves your trust, and how darkness can hide behind the warmest smiles. After my father passed away, everything changed. Our home, once filled with laughter, turned silent. My mother couldn't handle the expenses alone, and soon, we had to leave our house. That's when my uncle, my father's elder brother, stepped in. He offered to take care of me. "Haneia is like my daughter," he promised. "She'll stay with us until she completes her studies." At that time, his words felt like a true blessing. I thought I was incredibly lucky to have such a caring uncle. My mother believed him completely. She kissed me goodbye and said, "You'll be safe there, my dear." But I didn't know then that sometimes, the people we trust the most can break us the deepest. When I first arrived at my uncle's house, everything looked perfect. It was a big house, with expensive furniture and quiet hallways. My aunt welcomed me with a strained smile, and my cousin seemed polite but distant. I tried my best to adjust. I helped my aunt in the kitchen, studied quietly in my room, and tried not to disturb anyone. But soon, I began to notice things, small things that made my heart uneasy. My uncle was a completely different person when others weren't around. His tone changed. His eyes would stay on me too long when I spoke. Sometimes, he would enter my room without knocking, pretending to check if I needed anything. It was always at odd hours, late at night or early in the morning. I was scared, confused, and ashamed. I tried to convince myself that I was overthinking, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The house itself began to feel heavy. The walls were quiet. But it wasn't peace. It was silence filled with fear. At night, I could hear whispers from the other rooms. My aunt often cried, and my cousins avoided looking into my eyes. Everyone seemed to live in fear of my uncle. He controlled everything, even what they said. I remember one evening at dinner, my cousin accidentally dropped a glass. My uncle slammed his hand on the table so hard that everyone froze. His face turned red with rage, and his voice echoed through the room. I sat there, terrified. That was the moment I realized this house was not a home, it was a cage. Weeks turned into months, and my uncle's behavior grew worse. He was always watching me, asking overly personal questions about my friends, college, and clothes. My aunt, looking broken, finally managed to whisper to me when no one was around, "Haneia, never be alone in a room with him. Just don't." Her voice was shaking. That was all the confirmation I needed. From that night, I started locking my door and sleeping with my phone in my hand, ready to call someone. The mounting tension finally snapped one day. My uncle came home furious after a phone call. He shouted at my aunt, then looked directly at me with pure rage in his eyes. "You think you can live here for free?" he yelled. "This is my house. You follow my rules." That night, I sat on my bed, shaking uncontrollably. Tears streamed down my face as I whispered to myself, "I can't stay here anymore." I started planning quietly, secretly. I called my mother and told her that my college was offering a mandatory hostel option, a safe lie that disguised my desperate need to escape. Before I left, my aunt came to me quietly in the kitchen. Her hands were trembling. She looked into my eyes, which were filled with years of silent suffering, and said, "You're doing the right thing, Haneia. Leave this house before it destroys you, too." I hugged her tightly, knowing she was the brave one who couldn't escape the way I could. That night, I packed my bag with only the essentials, waited until everyone was fast asleep, and left the house silently. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. Every single step away from that door felt like I was reclaiming a part of my life. When I reached the bus stop, I looked back at the house one last time. A big, beautiful house that held so much ugliness inside. I whispered, "No one will believe me. But I know the truth." And then I walked away into the darkness, into freedom. When I left that house, I thought I was free. But freedom doesn't come all at once. Sometimes it comes in pieces. For days, I couldn't sleep properly. Every sudden sound made me jump. Every man's voice made me uncomfortable. I had escaped my uncle's house, but I couldn't escape the memories. They followed me like shadows. I moved into a small hostel near college, still telling my mother the lie. I avoided people, stopped trusting anyone, and sat alone by the window, wondering why life had to be so cruel. There were nights when I cried silently, asking God, "Why me?" I kept my secret tightly locked away for months. Then, one day, something profound changed. At college, one of my professors, Miss Haneia, noticed my silence. She called me after class and asked gently, "Haneia, you look tired lately. Is everything okay?" That simple question was the first time I spoke about what happened. I didn't share all the horrific details, but I confessed that someone in my family had made my life a living nightmare. She listened quietly, without interrupting, without petty, just pure understanding. She said something I'll never forget. "Haneia, silence protects the guilty, not the innocent. You did nothing wrong. Don't carry someone else's shame." Those powerful words broke me and healed me at the very same time. After that day, I started writing. Every night, I wrote in a small diary everything I had felt, the pain, the fear, the anger. All of it poured onto those pages. Slowly, I began to feel lighter. But my story wasn't over. One afternoon, I got a terrifying call from my mother. Her voice was trembling. She said, "Your uncle has been arrested." I froze. My aunt had finally spoken up. After years of agonizing silence, she had found the courage to tell the truth. Not just about me, but about everything he had done to her and others. I couldn't believe it. The man who once controlled everyone's life was finally behind bars. That night, I cried again, but this time, the tears were purely tears of relief. Justice, even delayed, had finally arrived. A few weeks later, my mother came to visit me. When she saw me, she hugged me tightly and whispered, "I'm so sorry, my child. I should have seen the signs." I couldn't say anything. I just held her and said, "It's over, Amy. Let's not live in the past anymore." After that, something inside me changed forever. I realized that thousands of girls like me were living in fear, trapped inside homes that looked peaceful from the outside, but were full of darkness. So, I made a crucial decision. At college, I immediately joined a small awareness group for women. We began visiting schools and communities to speak openly about emotional abuse, boundaries, and self-protection. The first time I spoke publicly, my hands were shaking, and my voice cracked as I said, "Sometimes the monster doesn't come from outside. Sometimes it lives inside your own house." The room fell silent. Many women had tears in their eyes. That day, I understood something truly powerful. When you tell your story, you don't just heal yourself, you help others heal too. Months passed. I graduated, started working, and began to rebuild my life. The scars were still there, but they no longer controlled me. They became a potent reminder that I survived. My final message is this: There are many girls like Haneia, silent, scared, and broken inside. But silence only helps the guilty. If you're suffering, speak up. Tell someone, it's not your shame, it's their sin. Your voice has power, and sometimes, one voice can save another life.